All right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. And today, I think I need a brand new trading indicator. Something that's going to blow your guys' minds how accurate it has been in the past 6 months, at least for the most part. And what is that? Well, I got my Ichimoku cloud, and that doesn't seem to be doing the trick. And I got my RSI up, not doing the trick lately. I think I know what the solution is, and that is the stock market. Wow, wow, wow. So, in the past 6 months, I would say that the stock market has now officially become correlated with Bitcoin. Or you could say it's the other way around, but either way, it's still correlation. Yesterday, the stock market dumps 1,000 points. It's been going down, and it wasn't till just today, around noon or so, or maybe 7 in the morning there, it says, depending on what time I actually have this set to. I don't know. But today, the Bitcoin market dropped a good few $100s, 400 if you want to say at the highest point there. Here's the thing, is that for a long time, Bitcoin was not correlated at all with the stock market. And that was a good thing in a lot of ways, in that Bitcoin has always had an existential crisis on its hands. And I'm going to show a lot more examples of the correlation this year, but we're even just going to kind of look at it together. But Bitcoin has always had sort of an existential crisis. When it first came out, it was something new. It was something fun. It was an experiment that you could mine on your computer. And nobody knew how much these Bitcoins were worth. Is it worth the electricity that I use to mine it with my computer? How do I even really, figure that out? Especially in 2009 when they were coming in so quickly and it really didn't cost that much. So are they worth more than the electricity? What are these worth? And Bitcoin didn't really have an official value till at least 2010, and I'd argue 2011 as well. So one of the first exchanges came out halfway through 2010, I believe, and Bitcoin at the time was worth about 0.003 cents, so 0.3 of a cent. So for $100, you could buy something like 3,000 of them. And then later on, it started to form into more of an anarchist sort of thing. Like, hey, we don't need the bank's money. We can use Bitcoin. We can make these payments to each other online. And then quickly it became, well, I'm putting a lot of money into this, buying GPUs, buying CPUs, buying ASICs. Now it's all about the money. It's about how much money I'm buying it for now and how much money it came in later. Then in 2017, there was a lot of cryptocurrencies popping up all over the place that were sort of competing with Bitcoin, and people were buying them in hopes for a big gain. But there was also another little thing going on that was, well, Bitcoin cannot keep up with the world. It has a low transaction rate, so it's not a very good currency in that sense. Now, to me and you, I send you crypto, you wait just 20 minutes or so, and you get it. But in terms of the world, like on Black Friday, all going to the stores and buying everything, it is completely and utterly insufficient. But then it was about the security and this, that, and the other thing. Other currencies were coming out saying, "Oh no, this is better because we're faster. Look at our transaction rate." And then so it's like, okay, well, Bitcoin isn't a very good currency, but it's a great store of value. Well, if you bought it at $19,000, it's not a very good store of value to you. True. But it is still interesting. We all still love it, of course. But then it was about, okay, well, if it's not a good store of value and it's not a good currency, it is an uncorrelated asset. And with an uncorrelated asset, you can hedge it against stock market tumbling down or going up, etc. And you can put some money into that and it won't go down with the stock market. And we've had a lot of that. Well, Anthony Pompliano, why Bitcoin is a non-correlated asset. This guy on CNBC, even mainstream media. This is CNN. This is CNBC a year ago, 3 months ago, saying Bitcoin is a non-correlated asset. Now, all of the sudden, people are starting to actually see Bitcoin performance strongly linked to the stock market, etc. And people are starting to turn around on that idea. And we can even see some of these charts here showing just how closely it is correlated with the stock market in general. So, why is that? Well, first of all, I want to do a little bit of a hypocrisy here, a little bit of a duality, that I agree entirely that it is a non-correlated asset. Because if you have something like a stock like Apple, it is highly correlated with a lot of things. What if there is a shortage of chips and Apple cannot make as many phones, iPhones or something like that, as they did last year? Well, naturally, their stock is probably going to go down. Blizzard Entertainment makes video games, and they banned a Chinese professional gamer from their tournament because he was complaining about the Hong Kong riots and the Chinese government. So they immediately bowed over to the Chinese government. Nobody liked that. Blizzard stock goes down and starts to tumble very quickly. So it's correlated with a lot of things. It's not necessary. It's politics. It's the supply, their profits, etc. So there's a lot of correlation. And when everything goes down in the oil industry, the chip industry, the electronics, politics, riots, protests, it's all going to go down. And why would Bitcoin go with that? Bitcoin isn't correlated to anything. It's barely correlated to anything at all, even less so than other actual currencies like the euro or the United States dollar, etc. It's just Bitcoin. There is nobody controlling it. It is not producing anything. It is it's not tied to a government. However, with the recent rise of Bitcoin in the past few years, with backed futures, CME futures, various institutions and banks holding it and being custody, now we start to see actual institutional investors who are currently stock traders or futures or commodities, etc. They're all trading this now. And it's no surprise. It's very easy to trade. There's a lot of money to be made. So, of course. And if you have traded stocks for the past 10, 20, 30 years as an institution or as an individual that has gotten into it, naturally, you're going to be associating Bitcoin with the stock market. Stock market's going down, so of course I'm going to sell as well. Because now they have sort of correlated it to the stock market by essentially proxy of them actually trading it, of them being institutional traders to begin with. Now, let me show you the first time that I would argue Bitcoin was correlated with the stock market. Now, one thing I want to point out is that typically the stock market is dumping first and then Bitcoin afterwards. So we can see that the stock market dropped, earlier. So that's sort of the futures, I guess, in that time, since they're not really trading at those hours. So actually it jumps from 4 to like 9 a.m. and stuff when the stock market starts trading. But it was basically the 23rd, and it was today that Bitcoin really started to drop, and it's not a big drop. It's nothing that we're not used to. Bitcoin goes up 1,000, it goes down 1,000. This is if you've been in Bitcoin for any period of time, it's not unusual at all. However, it's starting to become unusual that it's correlated with the stock market. So I think everybody is wrong. Everybody that says that it's a non-correlated asset is now wrong. Initially, they were correct. Because, again, there was no ties to any corporation's production, politics with Bitcoin. And a little bit with politics, I would say this, as China, banned exchanges and Bitcoin dumped in price for a while, etc. But that's natural. It's kind of like a, go figure type thing because it heavily affected Bitcoin. But for the most part, I believe they were right. It was a non-correlated asset. But now that there's so many institutions in it, they have sort of adopted the stock market flow for Bitcoin as well, if that makes any sense to you. So let me show you the first time in 2020 that I believe Bitcoin became correlated with the stock market. And if you want to use this as a tool, I'm all messed up here, but I urge you to start using the Dow or the NASDAQ or something like that, the stock market in general, as a tool to trade now. Now, it shouldn't be your only tool. Of course, you should use all your indicators, politics, time, everything that you currently use. But why not have the Dow up while you're trading now? because the Dow went down first, then Bitcoin, and it has done that ever since. So let's go back 6 months. Let's go to the beginning of 2020. And I would argue that before that, there was very, very, very little correlation with the stock market. I think I can see like one instance when it dumped, and that was quite a long time ago. That was December 2018. So if we look at December 2018, I know I'm getting a little off track here, but December 2018 was when Bitcoin reached $3,200 after reaching 20,000 in December 2017. So it was sort of the low it had seen after that, and pretty much since. And there was a dump in the market then as well, but that could just be coincidence, could be the time of year. But 2020, we seen the all-time high of the Dow. We were nearly at 30,000 points, which is just absolutely unprecedented in the history of the world. So within a month, with the coronavirus thing coming out, the stock market dumped over 10,000 points. That's the biggest drop in the history of the stock market. Now, it probably wasn't as bad as the 80s drop. There was an 80s depression, and there was also the 1929, 30 Great Depression, which was very bad as well. But statistically, in terms of the numeric drop in the Dow, this was the biggest in the history of the stock market. So let's go to the year to date for the Bitcoin chart, and we'll look at that as well. And it doesn't seem to be wanting to do that, so we always have to do a little refresh on CoinMarketCap because it's awful. So year to date, and we can see that same thing happen. But it was sort of a lag period. It happened after the stock market. So if you see the stock market tumbling that badly, you can sort of go with it. And it did at that time, at its low. It was about its low for the year so far with the Dow. But there was a slight lag period where Bitcoin, waited a little bit, then followed the stock market. It even tried to return, but the pressure of institutional sales really pushed it down. And we can see that over the course of a few months as well. We can find other times when it dumped as well, and that Bitcoin dumped along with it. Like May 8th, there was a dump. And there it is with the stock market. It was a little dump. It was 1,000 points, but it was also a somewhat little dump for Bitcoin as well, 9,800 to 8,700, so $900, which is significant. But again, for Bitcoin, not so much. And I've been seeing this all year, and I keep looking at CoinMarketCap trying to find these dips and bumps. And so let's try just a month with the Dow as well. On this, and you can see that June 8th there was a dump. Let's find that. There was a little dump on the 7th and a little rise there, but June 11th there was the big fall here, and Bitcoin was at 9,900, went to 9,300. So you can find this now. You can start to see this whenever there's a major dump in the Dow. It's typically along with that with Bitcoin as well. So again, I don't think it's going to be entirely correlated exactly. There's always going to be a whale that's going to come along that'll pump Bitcoin or dump Bitcoin, and you can take a look at the Dow and you're like, well, nothing happened with the Dow, and that's just whales being whales. But when you see these exact dumps along with it, it is a little, it's quite interesting to see this, to see these dumps. And again, I'm just telling you guys this. I think you should know. I think you should take a look at this when you're trading. And if you're seeing a major dump in the Dow, likely it might be a reasonable time to also, drop Bitcoin and pick it up at a lower price. And it just seems like it'll drop, like a major drop in the Dow just seems like it drops Bitcoin anywhere from $600 to $900, which is a great trading opportunity. Selling it and then picking it back up for 600 to 900 less is super good. So I just want to argue that it is starting to become more and more correlated whenever we see these drastic jumps in the stock market. Then we see something along with Bitcoin as well. Like, again, the June 11th drop, It's hard to see the charts exactly. They're not set up exactly the same. They're not quite as volatile as Bitcoin. But when you see these big drops, typically Bitcoin will drop the next day. So I hope this video sort of helps you out. I know I didn't necessarily 100% correlate it, but it's really starting to. We're really starting to see this effect with Bitcoin. And the more institutional traders get into Bitcoin, what I mean by institutional is that they were either previously stock traders or they are stock traders in some way, shape, or form, whether it's commodities, futures, etc. Just throw it all in one basket. And we're starting to see that them pick up Bitcoin. And so, of course, it makes total sense that they're going to use the same sort of analysis, or at least a similar analysis of Bitcoin with the stock market. And if a gigantic stock market dump starts happening on one day, likely the next day people are going to start selling Bitcoin as well. So I just hope it helps you guys with your trading. So keep up all your normal indicators, do whatever you do that's that you're trading now, but at the beginning of every day, several times throughout the day, if you're just day trading throughout the day or just once in a while, take a look at the stock market. Was there a big dump and Bitcoin is just sort of not affected by that? The next day, it just might be. So take that into consideration. I'm not saying sell as soon as you see a drop in the market. Because it's usually got to be a somewhat big drop, like of 1,000 points or so, and then Bitcoin will follow the next time. And I'm not saying sell, I'm not saying buy, but just use it as a tool in your trading. And I hope this video made a little bit of sense. It was a little bit of rambling, but like I said, every video I have made lately, I have been going to CoinMarketCap and looking at the Dow, looking at CoinMarketCap, and when there's a major dump, I see a dump in Bitcoin the next day or just 6-7 hours later or something like that. Because remember, Bitcoin trades 24/7. The stock market typically just trades in the middle of the day, in the morning to I think till like 5 p.m. or something they close. I can't remember, which is ridiculous. And there are overnight futures for the stock market as well, but typically probably not as effective as just the actual day trade itself. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and as usual, I'll see you guys next time.